Hello, everyone, and welcome to After Church Tea Time. Really looking forward to this discussion on today's sermon about trusting your inner voice and co-creating your reality with God. Well, guys, do you have any major takeaways from today's sermon and today's Sunday service?
Like I can start.
Sorry, carry on.
Go.
No, you carry on. It's good. Okay, so then, yeah, I think Fabian, I think your entire message was just very resonant at this point, because I think, the thing is about the reminder of appreciating your voice and growing it and growing into it is something that I've kind of worked on probably throughout my adult life. Just trusting your voice and trusting that the right message is going to come through for you. And the very interesting thing was, just in this past week, I had a chat with somebody and I was sharing something. And then a situation came up and the message was actually for me. And I just got the point where I just realized over again that your message is always for you. And you feel like you're sharing it with somebody else, but it's actually your message.
Oh, 100%. I was listening in today as well to the Sunday service, and I was just, thinking the same, that every word is really me talking to myself. But in the same sense, as you move through these challenges on your spiritual journey, and the lessons that you learn along the way, they can really be of benefit to everyone, yeah? And it's almost like we are going through the same challenges together, almost. And it's like, oh yeah, I can relate to that. I'm going through something similar. And it's much easier to navigate these challenges as a community rather than, as an individual.
Yeah, I can also share, like, this was perfect for me this week too. Even today with my coach Chrissy, I was healing about also being your authentic self and vulnerability. It's like one of my biggest blocks, I feel. And also like being right now, right, like being authentically myself, like after church tea time, for example, right, like showing up, being seen. And I just get aware, like today, that of a core pattern from childhood, for example, with Chrissy, that whenever I was vulnerable or opened up, right, I was really like sharing myself, like with something very dear to my heart, it was weaponized against me. And so there was kind of like the block coming in that I was at some point stopping, opening up, right, and so didn't feel kind of shutting down, right, like was not feeling comfortable again, like to go there. And of course, it's also on your twin flame journey very important. Like Jeff and Shaleia even said today in class, right? It's the most vulnerable like relationship you will ever have, like with God and your twin flame. And so vulnerability is like so important. But the challenge we are kind of calling in, like Jeff said, it's perfect for us, right? Like every day, every week. And it also, there will be not much applause sometimes along the way, right, from society, because society is kind of still seemingly against twin flames. So there's a lot of opposition going on, but that you will learn this to be proud of yourself, right, along the journey, and what kind of challenges you were overcoming. And it's just about your vulnerability with God. And so sharing your voice, God through you, with the world, with everybody. It's really what God, I feel, is all inviting us to heal these blocks, to be able to do that, to be your authentic divine self, right? And then without any resistance, just sharing it and being the channel. Yeah, I feel that we are all doing it together. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the two biggest pieces that I loved about this sermon, if you're aware of it, you're responsible for it. And really just releasing you know, the consciousness that's trying to take you from just being present with God and your brothers and sisters. And I feel that even for me, this week, healing with my relationships in the community, and just even being here for tea time, this is my first tea time. It feels good, and
Welcome.
it's like all this fear coming up, and but it's releasing, and it's safe to connect with others and God. It always is, and it always will be. And seeing God in all circumstances was the other piece that I really enjoyed, because there always is an answer, and God always answers whatever the question is, right? And it's safe to fully trust God. It's safe to fully trust yourself, and to also, trust what you've built with God, trust what you've understood with God, and share that. Don't hide from that. Open up to your divinity, and know that your divinity will take you out of the ego. It will annihilate the ego. It will crush it, and you don't have to live in fear. And that's really been today's, that's what today really healed in me. And even in sessions with my coach, just working through like manipulation. Like I grew up in the city, and it was like very like tough, and so I always like was trying to like live in survival mode and manipulate to succeed in life. And I'm done with that, and I choose a divine life, and it feels good.
It's that we are moving through a cave of fear, and when we do that, and slay the dragon in it, then we can really open up to much improved reality. And that is the beauty of that process, is like it's actually leading somewhere. It's not like there's a challenge and a challenge and a challenge, and it's difficult and it stays that way forever. It's like, maybe when you are in the challenge, it seems as if it's maybe a bit difficult to get out of it, or almost impossible to transcend it ever. But that's the point of the challenge, right? It's that it can lead you to that point where you're at maximum kind of capacity, that the challenge is worthy of you, and where you are calling God into the situation so that you can partner with God and navigate it with God. And then, as you transcend it, you can look back to it and you can see, oh, wow, another challenge that I overcame. And that, as Christy said, it builds that self-confidence. And that was also what Jeff and Shaleia shared in today's group coaching class.
Yeah, and I think what you guys have shared is quite important, because part of the success, or part of the achievement, is working through it. So you kind of need to go through it to emerge on the other side, to find the value in it. Because often we don't find the value in it while it's happening. It just feels like it's coming in thick and fast, and things feel upside down. And I don't know about you, but I don't like feeling upside down. So it feels awful. But once you've gone through it, you realize two things: that it wasn't as bad as what you thought it was, but also that you've grown, you've expanded by having gone through the experience. So I've learned to accept that I'm not going to like it while it's happening, but I also accept that it will come to an end. I will transition through it. And so that always probably settles my energy a lot more, and kind of takes me back into my peace. Because one of the conversations I was having this week is that you can actually be peaceful in the chaos. You and it's not that you have to go searching for your peace. It's always there. You just have to remember that it is there, and re-identify with it and reignite it. It doesn't leave you. it might feel like it's leaving you because the circumstances don't feel good. But your peace is always there. You don't go and find it in some magical land that you have to go into trance for. So, you know, and that was my message. That message was for me as I was sharing it with somebody else. And literally, it happened yesterday that I ended up having a little bit of an argument with somebody. But while he was kind of getting very hyper, I was like, I hear you, and this is what you didn't do in the situation, which made me this and made me feel that and made me feel that. And he was on a track, and I was like, dude, you're not listening to me. Let's try listening, and then we can communicate. And I just find that often in those kind of situations, we don't necessarily always listen to understand what's happening. We actually listen so that we can respond to things. So it's a constant reminder for me to take the step back and actually listen.
Nice, I like that. Granville. Yeah, it's like how we say it, like being like very aware and present, right? To learn that, because often like we just react. Yeah, but also what came up for me, it's not against you, right? It's really for you to crack you open, like the heart and where you are so vulnerable. And I loved like when Jeff and Shaleia shared today, like, of course, they feel kind of like it's challenging and it sucks, right, to go for it. But afterwards, let's do it again, right? So because the reward is so great that you get out of it, so we could do it again. So because the relief and the success, and because you always ascend, of course, like higher and higher, right? And I think that's often important to not quit a journey, to know like what kind of reward you will really receive at the end, and that the challenge is nothing against that, right? So that you always feel better. And I also loved when Fabian shared in the sermon about that you cannot do a mistake, right? That often kind of you were taught about this punishment energy from society, right? You have to be hard with yourself, and that you can just learn. It's for all of us like a learning journey. And often when it was not approved from society, you thought you were wrong, where in truth you were not wrong. And it's kind of this deprogramming I feel we are all doing, where we felt in the past we did something wrong and don't want to go there again, but that we were not wrong at all, right? And now learning to speak the truth and what we always knew in our heart. Yeah, the voice.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I really love just the aspect of what you shared, Granville, like being able to sit in peace and just be present. Like there's no creation just from here, right? And that's like how society moves. That's how, you know, a lot of people choose to connect, and it really limits what's real from being brought to the physical, right? Because if you're not actually letting yourself experience what's real within, it can't physically manifest, and you can't get to the truth with somebody if there's no willingness to be present with themselves and really hear, you know, God within. And yeah, that's very important. I feel that a lot of things have come up within me, even over the last couple of weeks, where I feel like I'm not being heard, and then I'm like getting upset about it rather than just, you know, sitting with how I feel and like, what is this, you know, bringing up for me to do, right? Like, what do I have to do in order to allow God to live in my physical reality? Like, and for me to physically live in a reality with God. And I think a lot of the time I get caught up here instead of doing that. And so it is just so important to just be here and to choose to relax and like connect, and like the answer will be revealed, whatever it is. God's always providing through all of us the truth. And even when somebody's providing like attack, or a situation where they're like really angry in a situation, or upset with you, like you don't have to give that the power, or you just have to give the power to the peace that's always there, and the peace protects you. The peace allows you to move out of that energy instead of feeling like you need to attack back, or like go back at it, like, and fight. You don't need to fight, you just need to love. And yeah, it's just love over fear every time. Yeah,
that's a good point. Yeah, that's nice. It's that that being present with yourself, with your feelings, and it's not always easy, but it's definitely worth it. And feeling these feelings that are coming up, and that's really a big part of the process, right? It's really investing in yourself by being present with yourself. By the way, guys, I wanted to ask you, so let's say there's a challenge coming up, and there's a huge challenge on the horizon. What would you do? Like, how can you prepare for it? And what are your like tips maybe to navigate a spiritual challenge? Like, do you have any recommendation, any tips? I think that might be good to talk about.
So like for me, the one thing that stands out is the importance of remaining grounded regardless of what the challenge is. Because I find like anticipating the challenge for me would bring up a level of anxiety. And that frazzled energy doesn't work for me. I need the clarity of grounding to work through the challenge. So I probably don't preempt things as much as I used to. And that's literally because of having gone through the teachings for so long and learning from the community, learning from Jeff and Shaleia, and just knowing when my energy is off and following that feeling, even if it doesn't feel good, so that I can heal it. So I think for me, it's the most important thing that I have found is just to be grounded. Because if I'm not grounded, the chaos just ensues.
That's a great tip. I like the one, grounded is very important, and it relates to some. I can relate to it. I'm moving through a challenge right now. There's something to deal with, and it's seemingly difficult, right? And I noticed that being grounded is very helpful there. And when you're grounded, you can, face a challenge, but it requires grounding. Otherwise, you can't really be in that cave and go through it.
Yeah, I can just recommend to breathe, right? To not stop breathing, and of course also claim your support, right? If you really, it's also like what we learn in the community, to not do anything alone, right? Also to learn to partner with God. But what helps is like not getting caught up into the story, right? When, for example, when I'm upset or angry, I use it really to write down probably sometimes 20 mirror exercises, sometimes even more, right? To really use it productively, like I'm upset about this, and to really allow it to be there. Like Jeff said, the deeper you can go, right? The more you allow yourself to be upset, the deeper you can go in step 2. So to really use it constructively, I would say, right? To write the mirror exercise down, but then not kind of losing time with playing the story in your mind over and over again, but directly going into your heart and feel your feelings, be honest with yourself, be vulnerable, and healing the upset with the mirror exercise.
Yeah, those are two important examples. And I would just say, don't take the challenge personally. Don't take it like you're being like sent into the depths of despair. And then like being angry or upset about it. I think just let yourself feel what you feel and know that you're safe and you're supported and you're loved ultimately. Yeah, and as you really let yourself be present, take a breath, and just face the upset, it will heal. It will, and the truth will, always shine on. It'll always come through, and yeah, just don't take it personally. Don't let yourself judge yourself or the situation. Just work through it.
Nice one. And taking responsibility, right? And really revealing to yourself that maybe there's something for me to move through emotionally about it, and that spiritual process, that purifying process, as a foundation, right? In a first. And it really reminds me of maybe some real life challenges along the way, and meaning in the physical. For example, we had a workshop with Twin Flames Universe, Romans and Sedona, right? I think it was 2 years ago. 2-3 years ago, yeah. And at that time, there was COVID going around, right? And people had to lock themselves into their apartments, and it was very difficult to travel, right? And so the only opportunity we had coming from Germany to the US was via Mexico. I think there were a few other countries as well, but Mexico made the most sense. You could not directly travel from Germany to the US because of these COVID restrictions, but Mexico was fine. And so we did that, right? Some of us, we connected within the community, and we were like, well, we can't miss out on this opportunity to have another live workshop. It's always so amazing when the community comes together and experiences heaven on earth feeling. And that was a good example of such maybe a challenge, and then, well, how can we navigate it? What can we do to resolve it? And, on top of the inner process, there's some steps to take on the outside as well. Do you guys have maybe any examples where you had a challenge that you moved through?
I think before I give you an example, something else that also just stood out for me, and it's also something that you shared in your sermon, is around healing that inner child. So, often we feel that we're alone in a challenge, and I think it's what Christy was speaking to claim your support. And I often find that just taking that child's hand and walking with them, let them know that you have their back. Like it changes the energy all the time, because there's nothing better than hearing, "I've got you." And to give that message to your inner child makes a challenge feel less challenging. But the other thing that probably also works for me is that I always ask, what's the lesson here? What am I learning? Because when you're learning, you can't be in a state of anxiety. We're not designed that way. So the minute you start to learn, you start to relax into the experience, as opposed to letting the experience run around you or have you running around in circles. So I just often ask myself, well, what's my lesson here? What am I actually meant to be learning here? And often that just relaxes me, and I'm like, okay, let's see. Because then I'm open to the experience, because I'm looking for the lesson. I'm not looking for the pain.
That's a good point. Thanks for sharing that. And we have another live event coming up, right? And if you haven't heard it, it's going to be in Michigan in June with Twin Flames Universe, but it will benefit the Church of Union. And I think it's going to be basically guaranteed amazing, blissful experience, as it has always been, but these keep getting better, right? I'm really looking forward to this one. And yeah, can't wait. So if you haven't yet, there's still an opportunity to get on the wait list to actually maybe reserve a seat for the event. There will be, from what it looks like, more people wanting to attend than we have tickets, very limited amount of tickets. So if you want to attend, a Twin Flame wedding, a Twin Flame workshop, and there's an art show as well. I think we've never seen before art pieces from Shaleia, and some of these you can even purchase. I think it's going to be an amazing experience. Yeah. Some of you are coming as well, right? That's good.
Yeah, I'll be there. Haven't missed one yet. Haven't missed an event. They're the best.
Yeah, me too. And like you said, with Mexico, it was the perfect experience ever, right? Like to be there, it had to be this way. Like it was so beautiful and gave me especially like the energy later on to change my environment where I lived 40 years, right? And to suddenly move forward on my journey. So it was very beautiful to live with people from the community, right? To do the inner work together, and it was an amazing experience. So like with the challenge that you shared before, also what was coming up, or like from the class from Jeff and Shaleia today, where Jeff said, nobody is your enemy, right? To know that. And like Ryan said, like to not take it personally, because like everybody is just kind of like being in their own world, having their upsets. They avoid feeling their feelings and their vulnerability, right? Kind of like, it's kind of this quitting on the journey. So it's so expensive when you quit. Just recommend don't do it, right? Just keep loving yourself. It's the easier choice. Not separation is the easier choice, but to love and choose union. Yeah, so with the challenge, just face the fear, right? It's really like I feel in this moment, like Fabian also said in the sermon, right? To not avoid places and to really go there. What you want to avoid. Sometimes you are aware of it, sometimes not so much. But of course, your coach can also guide you to the blind spots, right? But in the truth, you know the topics that you don't really want to go. But I was very grateful for today to go there. And you really, it's like on the slide, right? And at the end, it's like love and God and your twin flame kind of hugging you. So it's safe, like to surrender and let go of control and allow these feelings to flow. And afterwards, you feel newborn. And also what Grenville was sharing about childhood. It's taking your child at the hand. It's like Jeff and Shaleia in the classes always say it's, and also Fabian brought it up in the sermon today, like from the book, right? This time travel with the childhood, to go back there. It's never too late for that, to really be mature in your twin flame union. There's so many places where we feel like a baby still, and that's okay, right? And because you want to be more and more mature, and the easier it gets, right, the more muscles you will have. I remember Jeff was saying when you're a baby and you want to claim you're good and you don't have any power in your arm, it's very hard, right, to claim you're good. So you want to get more power and to claim it through the challenge and to just take it. It's mine, right? Like gaining muscles with the inner work.
very difficult.
Both you and Ryan have shared the safety, because I think that that's really the thing that settles us most, is to know that we're safe. And that, the fact of the matter is, as long as you remember that no piece of healing is going to come up that you're not ready for. Because we're not designed to push ourselves too far. So when we're ready for that piece of healing, it will come up, and it might be a big piece, but you also have built up some spiritual chops to deal with it. So I think we need to give ourselves more credit than we sometimes do, because we tend to possibly be harder on ourselves than most things. And again, compassion is one of the foundations. So we got to get into flexing that compassionate muscle with ourselves first.
Yeah, I would agree. Perfect. I want to ask you guys, do you feel you have another piece in your heart to share about the Sunday service to our audience on YouTube, on Facebook? How do you guys feel about that?
No, I think for me, it's just that reiteration of actually embracing your inner child. Because one of the things that I've had to heal through in my journey was, I grew up in a house that said children should be seen and not heard. And so it was very funny for me when I then started doing all these lives. And I was like, okay, so God is like, okay, you're going to heal this and you're going to heal it properly. So again, it worked out that that was the role I got into volunteering in. And it has, it settled me being able to just communicate better and to be open to sharing those parts. And I think it's something that you spoke to as well, is the vulnerability. And it's safe to be vulnerable, and it sounds counterintuitive, but it is safe, and we need to constantly remind ourselves of that as well.
Yeah, Jeff and Shaleia gave an example of opening a door within the group coaching class today, and how difficult is it for you to open a door? Very easy. But then just, as we talked about the inner child growing up, then maybe when you're a baby and you look at the door and you see the door and it's like far away, it's like, geez, when will I ever be able to open the door? And then, ooh, that's difficult to open, right? But well, there's a process of growing involved, and then it will be the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah, and I feel that I just wanted to reiterate and go off of like the inner child, the safety. I feel like that is everything, that we're really experiencing, is like how we grew up, how we were raised, like conditioning, what were our religious backgrounds, what was our relationship with God, how did that look? And really just knowing that like God is only love. We are only love, and we can only go from where we are right now. Even if we see ourselves, in this, high state or, strong presence, if we're not there physically, we need to work through that. And I think for me, a lot of the time I get wrapped up in like getting high off of like the work sometimes. And I think that that's another thing that I want to share, is to not do that, because it doesn't work. You have to be grounded. Like Granville said, you have to be grounded. You have to work through your feelings, and you can know who you are or who you strive to be in ways, but you want to make sure that who you are right now is who you focus on in every moment, and you work towards your ascension path. You focus. You don't negate the healing. You don't leave yourself. because you're not happy with where you're at right now, or you're not happy with your finances, or you're not happy with your job, or you're not happy with, you know, your twin flame union. You just have to accept where you are now in order to have it. And that's a big lesson I'm learning too, is just accept where you are.
Absolutely.
That's what I got.
Totally. It reminds me of what Carmel shared in the intro, where she shared about her journey with the skill of finance, accounting. And yeah, there might have been challenges for her to move through, but then she revealed to herself that basically there's a lot of joy in it, right? There's a lot of fun in doing that. And that's all that it is you get to meet yourself in new ways, and you're going to find out all of these amazing things that you could not see before, and wow, they are all so amazing. And the best moments are still in front of us, right? Cool. Yeah, how are you guys feeling? Do you feel complete with today's message in the after church tea time?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Well, thank you so much for participating. Thank you everyone for listening in and watching. Feel free to share any comments or questions on Facebook and YouTube as well. And please visit unionism.org for any past Sunday services, where you can also place your donation or tithes to contribute to the Church of Union's message to the world. And with that, have a great rest of your Sunday and an amazing week ahead. Bye-bye.
Awesome. Thank you. You too.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.